This next concern is less of a bug and more of just a temporary concern. With 2.6, they expanded the area around Yela or Yela, however you say it. Well, fun to land on these asteroids and check out the random stuff that they added. Some of the texturing looks a bit low quality when compared to the new higher resolution assets. I'm sure with 3.0 and the new procedural tech this will be fixed. It's just a bit shocking to see this awesome looking tower for a vending machine, but have it stuck on such a low resolution asteroid. This tower is just great looking. It's high resolution, good reflections, good lighting. The vending machine is easily identifiable from a good distance. You get up close, it still looks good. But now we look down on the asteroid and it just doesn't look that great. From far away they look pretty good, but once you get up on them it's kind of shocking. And as I fly down here you can see the shadows start to render and pop in. I'm not sure why that's happening, as it doesn't always seem to happen. It's similar to the flashlight issue in part 1 where it just sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. And ship damage. Well, you could always see damage to your ship and see it. It seems that a few bits were cleaned up for a better look now. But with some of the prevalent bugs where the damaged or lost parts, they don't seem to actually go away. They seem to stick with the ship and fly with you. I've even seen it where some of them, the whole parts are just orbiting the ship. It's kind of weird. This leads us into something with the ICC mission statements. Usually after completing all 7 missions in version 2.5, the lady would say that I didn't expect you to find such and such. Now I've had that trigger after completing individual missions, but it sounds out of place. Here we found out the crew was blown away and she says, hey, that was pretty neat. In 2.4 there was a much larger issue with ship clipping and being able to walk in and out of ships or fall out of ships. 2.5 cleaned up most of that, but it seems that 2.6 seems to have brought some of that back. Here with the Freelancer, while the option is missing, it still let me use the ladder and get into the ship. However, when I got up to the door, it didn't trigger right away, and I kept running, and I was able to run right through the door and get into the ship. I wondered if I could force myself out again, as in 2.4, and ran at the door. Once my camera was on the other side, I jumped, eventually clipping out. Small issue, but it's kind of weird to see that come back with the newer version. That, however, is the least of my issues with the Freelancer right now. I love the changes thus far to the HUD. They make everything on the ship seem a lot more clean, and it makes a lot more sense to have that information viewable on the screen. While the power assignments are still broken and don't work, I'd love them on my helmet HUD again. The screens in the front, thanks to the new field of view, are now even harder to see, especially since they just project up into the air. I think that they should angle these screens down and more towards the player and then recess them into the dash panel a little bit. That way when the sun impacts them, it doesn't blind you and you lose all visibility of those panels. Now, why haven't I shot at this pirate? Well, it's not for lack of trying. The main guns on the Freelancer don't like to fire in 2.6. In 2.4 and to a lesser extent in 2.5, they would get stuck always firing. However, in here they just didn't fire at all, and this has happened several times. So after I shot a missile, I retreated a ways to see if I could figure out what was happening. I went into the computer, made some adjustments, tried to cut power to several systems and see if that would work, and it didn't. Once I got under the weapons, though, I could see that the cannons were displaying as fully overheated. I'm not really sure how, since this is a brand new ship. I got in it from Olazar and flew straight out to this mission, never taking a shot until I got into combat, and then I attempted to shoot. I never could get them to cool down, and I could never get power cycling to actually kick them back into functioning. They were just broken, and I've yet to be able to shoot on my Freelancer. The 85X is a great little ship, and really ideal for a snub ship. I always loved the Merlin, but hated that it had no quantum drive. I don't need it to be able to go very far, but if I'm out flying somewhere, especially when I get my Carrack, I want to be able to drop something in ahead of me to ensure that I'm not flying into my death. The 85X is perfect for this, and it even has 2 seats. Overall, I like the design, but I think that the front dash needs to be lowered down. You can see how little the visibility for the pilot is for visual flight, especially down on planets or going through asteroid fields. If the FOV gets pulled back again, the dash could potentially then be angled down to give you at least 10 to 15% more visibility out of the screen. I feel like a 6-year-old trying to look through the steering wheel and out the windshield of an SUV in this thing sometimes. So I took this thing out for a flight around Grimhex, and I had forgotten that they were going to make a lot of changes here, but I love the way it looks now. It looks like the station was attacked, taken over, or an accident occurred, and they're now working on repairs. As you fly up, you can see the sparks, the environmental shooting off, and it was kind of surprising because I'd forgotten about that until I actually got there. It gives this area such a much better feel than before, and I liked the way Hex looked before. It makes it seem more hidden, more mysterious. The way the tethers are loose or damaged and the sparks are shooting off from the strut, it just looks great. It makes it feel more dangerous and a place where pirates would definitely want to be hanging out and launching their operations from. Now, speaking of asteroids, there was a lot of talk about the asteroid field around Yela, and how it was going to be more dense, more procedural. When I turn the ship here, you can see that this is really well done once we're down in the field. And pausing for a second, you can just see they achieved this very well. It looks great from down here, dense, foreboding, dangerous, and enticing to fly through. It looks like a great asteroid field. However, on approach or seen from outside the field, it looks pathetic. You can see that only about 1/3 of the field is actually displayed. The asteroids are constantly being drawn in or disappearing, and it just kills the effect. It looks horrible from up here. I mean, it looks unfinished. You can see asteroids just randomly popping up. If we contrast this with version 2.5, it's a great showpiece to quantum travel into Yela and see 100% of the field in place, fully rendered. It's immersive, it looks awesome. Even when making sharp maneuvers and jumping around, everything stays where it should be and is always visible. I know they'll get it fixed, but comparing it to how it looked in their demo, the reality of it's just disappointing. Elsewhere in the asteroid field, you can find a derelict ship. I really like this. It's really well done, and I can't wait to find even more of these floating around various fields or various parts of space, and with different ships. I think they ported this one over from the 3.0 demo. If these can be randomly spawned and configured for salvage around different areas to make it kind of unique, it'd just be wonderful. I found this one at random. I knew they'd put a couple out there, and I was just flying around exploring the field in the 85X. So I pulled over for a stop, and the environmentals were great. Perhaps some more sparks or rotation on the parts would be awesome, but overall it's really immersive. It's great to see the cargo. Unfortunately, you can still see the flashlight struggling to find a surface that it can illuminate off of, but being in the ship, hearing the environmental audio and the changes they made to the audio system, it's so great. The ship's damage from the outside looks great as well. I think that the only thing really missing are maybe some burn marks or some scorching from the exploded fuel cells that would probably scar the hull and armor plating, but overall this really sells it. It looks torn up, it looks damaged, and it looks really cool. On the way back to my ship, I heard the freelancer here flying past me, so I followed it as it came in. I loved and always have being able to see into other ships and see the crew moving around. This one got a bit choppy. Performance issues in 2.5 usually resulted in a 2 to 5 minute lag out where everything would just sort of freeze. Now, however, the FPS drops, but I have yet to actually lag out, as it were. Unfortunately here, I randomly lost all control of my character. I was able to get into third-person view, but then absolutely everything stopped working. I pushed every key on the keyboard, on my Xbox 360 controller. Nothing worked. I was able to escape into the menus and resume the game, but nada. It wasn't frozen, it just wouldn't respond for about 5 minutes. And then randomly, I was able to take full control and get back into my ship. Everything functioned just fine. So 2.6 is shaping up to be awesome overall. I know this video seemed kind of like a rag on it, but it's a lot of fun. I just hope they get these main bugs cleared up soon so that we can really enjoy what's available while we wait for 3.0's major updates. I hope they fix some of the concerns as well, since they really hurt the immersion with the FOV and some of the other tweaks. But as this progresses, I'll work on more of a gameplay video and hopefully not end up in too much wreckage. Thank you for watching.